In the year 2147, humanity had finally reached the stars. For decades, people dreamed of exploring distant planets and meeting alien life. But when humans stepped into the galaxy, they quickly realized they were not welcome. The Galactic Council, a powerful group of advanced alien species, ruled over most of the known universe. They saw humans as primitive and dangerous, like children playing with fire. Jake Carter, a skilled pilot with sharp instincts, stood in a large chamber on Vega Prime, the Council's homeworld. Beside him was Lily Monroe, a brilliant scientist who spent her life studying the stars. Together, they represented Earth at the Council's Grand Summit. It was a rare honor, or so it seemed, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The room was filled with towering aliens, shimmering energy beings, and creatures with too many eyes. Every glance toward Jake and Lily carried a hint of disdain. Ambassador Calvor, a tall reptilian leader with glowing green scales, stepped forward. His voice boomed through the chamber. "Humans have spread too far, too fast," he said, his tone cold and commanding. "Your reckless expansion threatens the balance of our galaxy. You are like pests, multiplying without thought or care." Jake clenched his fists but forced himself to stay calm. He glanced at Lily, whose face remained unreadable. She had warned him about this before they arrived. "They won't listen," she had said, "but we have to try." Calvor continued, pacing back and forth as if addressing an audience of millions. "We give you one cycle of your Earth years. Stop all interstellar travel and exploration. Return to your solar system and stay there, or face the consequences." The words hit Jake like a punch to the gut. Consequences. What did that even mean? Would they attack Earth? Destroy its cities? Enslave its people? He wanted to argue, to tell them how much humans had achieved despite their short time in space, but he knew it wouldn't matter. These aliens didn't see humans as equals. They saw them as a problem to be solved. Lily leaned closer to him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Stay focused," she said. "This isn't over yet." After the meeting ended, Jake and Lily walked silently back to their quarters. The weight of the Council's ultimatum pressed down on them. Outside, Vega Prime's twin suns cast long shadows across the metallic streets. Alien ships zipped overhead, their engines humming softly. Despite the beauty around them, Jake felt trapped. Back inside, Lily pulled up holographic maps of Earth's solar system on a floating screen. Her fingers moved quickly, highlighting key locations. "If they're serious about stopping us," she said, "they'll start by cutting off our colonies. Mars, Europa, Titan, all vulnerable." Jake nodded, running a hand through his hair. "And what do we do? Roll over and let them win?" "No," Lily replied firmly. "We fight, but not blindly. We need a plan, a way to show them we're not just some backward species they can push around." For hours they brainstormed ideas. Jake suggested rallying Earth's military forces, while Lily talked about reverse engineering alien technology they'd recovered from past encounters. Both knew it would take more than brute strength to stand against the Council. Humanity needed allies, innovation, and sheer determination. As night fell on Vega Prime, Jake stared out the window at the endless expanse of stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, small and fragile compared to the vastness of the galaxy. Yet it was also resilient, full of people who refused to give up no matter the odds. Jake smiled faintly, a spark of hope igniting within him. If anyone could defy the Council, it was humanity. But first, they had to survive. Jake and Lily returned to Earth with heavy hearts. The Council's ultimatum weighed on them like a storm cloud, dark and unrelenting. As their ship descended through the atmosphere, they saw the planet below. Blue oceans, green continents, and sprawling cities glowing under the sunlight. It was beautiful, but fragile. If the Council decided to act, Earth wouldn't stand a chance without preparation. They landed at a secure military base where President Laura Bennett and General Marcus Hale were waiting. Both leaders looked grim as Jake and Lily stepped off the shuttle. Without wasting time, they headed to a briefing room. A large screen displayed maps of Earth and its colonies in space. Red markers showed areas most vulnerable to attack. President Bennett folded her arms and spoke first. "Tell me everything," she said, her voice steady but firm. Jake took a deep breath. "The Council gave us 1 year to stop exploring space, or they'll destroy us. They see us as a threat, even though we've done nothing to harm them." Lily added, "It's not just about stopping exploration. They think we're too dangerous to exist outside our solar system. And based on what I saw, they're already planning something big." General Hale frowned. "What do you mean?" "They've been monitoring us closely," Lily explained. "And while we were there, strange energy readings appeared near Earth's orbit. I think they're testing weapons, or maybe setting up for an invasion." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. If the Council attacked, Earth would be defenseless. Its ships were outdated compared to alien technology, and its armies weren't prepared for warfare beyond the planet's surface. Jake stood up, pacing across the room. "We can't just roll over and let them win. We need to fight back, but smartly. We need better weapons, stronger defenses, and allies if possible." Lily nodded. "I have an idea. Remember those alien drones we captured last year? The ones that crashed in Siberia? If we can study their tech, we might be able to build something powerful enough to defend ourselves." General Hale raised an eyebrow. "You really think that's possible?" "It's risky," Lily admitted, "but it's our best shot. Their technology is far ahead of ours, but if we can understand how it works, we can turn it against them." President Bennett leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "Do it. Start working on this immediately. But keep it quiet. We don't want panic spreading among the public yet." As the meeting ended, Jake and Lily headed to a secret research facility hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. Inside, teams of scientists worked around the clock, analyzing pieces of alien tech recovered from previous encounters. Ethan Cole, a young engineer with messy hair and boundless energy, greeted them enthusiastically. "Good timing," Ethan said, holding up a small device. "We've made some progress on the drone's power core. It's unlike anything we've seen before." Lily smiled faintly. "Show me." For days, they worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of alien machinery. Slowly, they began to understand how it operated. The Council's weapons rely on advanced energy fields that could disable entire fleets in seconds. But Lily noticed something odd, a flaw in the design. If they could exploit it, they might create a weapon capable of neutralizing the Council's advantage. Meanwhile, tensions rose on Earth. News of the Council's ultimatum leaked to the public, sparking outrage and fear. Protests erupted in major cities, with millions demanding action. Some called for peace, believing humanity couldn't win against such powerful enemies. Others urged defiance, arguing that surrender would only lead to enslavement or extinction. Jake watched the chaos unfold on news screens late at night. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Humanity was divided, scared, and running out of time. But deep inside, he believed in their ability to overcome any challenge. After all, humans had always thrived under pressure. One evening, as the team celebrated a breakthrough in the lab, Lily looked at Jake. "This isn't just about saving Earth anymore," she said softly. "It's about proving we deserve a place among the stars." Jake nodded. "Then let's make sure we earn it." Jake knew that humanity couldn't fight the Council alone. Even with Lily's breakthroughs in alien technology, Earth needed more than weapons. It needed unity. Without trust and cooperation among nations, their chances of survival were slim. Jake decided to take matters into his own hands. He would travel the globe, speaking directly to leaders and citizens alike, rallying support for a united front against the Council. His first stop was Washington, D.C., where he addressed the United Nations. Standing before representatives from every country, Jake spoke with passion. "We've always been told we're small, insignificant," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "But look at what we've done. We've built cities, cured diseases, and reached the stars. The Council sees us as weak, but they don't know who we are. They don't understand our strength." The room erupted in applause, but Jake wasn't done yet. He spent weeks traveling to different countries, meeting with skeptical leaders and ordinary people. In Brazil, he visited crowded markets and shared meals with locals. In Japan, he toured factories producing advanced machinery for the war effort. Everywhere he went, he reminded people of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. One night, after a rally in South Africa, Jake met a young recruit named Ethan Cole. Ethan had been working on Lily's team at the secret lab, but had volunteered to join the military. His enthusiasm was contagious. "I believe in what you're doing," Ethan said, shaking Jake's hand firmly. "If we stand together, there's nothing we can't do." Jake smiled. "Then let's make sure everyone feels the same way." While Jake worked to unite humanity, Lily stayed behind in the lab, pushing forward with her research. She was joined by Mia Torres, a fearless fighter pilot who had flown countless missions defending Earth's colonies. Mia brought fresh energy to the team, often challenging Lily to think bigger and bolder. "Why stop at defense?" Maya asked one day, leaning over a table covered in blueprints. "What if we could strike back? Hit them where it hurts?" Lily paused, considering the idea. "It's risky," she admitted. "But maybe you're right. If we can disrupt their supply lines or disable their ships, it could buy us time." Together, they brainstormed ways to turn the tide. Using data from the alien drones, they developed experimental EMP weapons capable of disabling enemy electronics. These weapons wouldn't kill, but they could cripple the Council's forces long enough for Earth to counterattack. As word spread about Jake's efforts, more volunteers joined the cause. Among them was Zara Nix, a mysterious figure who arrived at the lab one evening. She was tall and sleek, with shimmering scales covering her body. An aquatic alien from the Aquarian species, Zara Nix explained that her people had suffered under the Council's rule for centuries. "We've heard whispers of your rebellion," she said, her voice echoing softly. "If you succeed, others will follow. But you'll need help." Lily exchanged a glance with Jake. Could they trust her? After hours of discussion, they agreed to work together. Zara Nix promised to provide advanced shielding technology and naval support from her underwater fleets. In return, she asked for Earth's promise to free all oppressed species once the Council was defeated. With new allies and growing momentum, hope began to spread across Earth. Factories churned out weapons and ships, while training camps prepared soldiers for the battles ahead. For the first time in months, people felt a sense of purpose. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for freedom. One evening, as Jake stood on a hill overlooking a bustling city, he felt a surge of determination. Humanity had faced challenges before, and it had always found a way to persevere. This time would be no different. "They underestimated us," Jake muttered to himself, staring up at the stars. "But they'll see soon enough what happens when Earth strikes back." Without warning, the Council made their move. Massive alien dreadnoughts descended upon Earth, blotting out the sun as they took positions in orbit. The ships were enormous, each one larger than a city, and bristling with weapons that glowed ominously. Panic spread across the planet as people realized the Council wasn't waiting for the year to end. The attack had begun. The first wave of orbital bombardments struck with devastating force. Cities crumbled under beams of energy that tore through buildings and melted steel. Smoke filled the skies, and millions fled their homes in terror. Jake watched from a command center buried deep underground, his jaw clenched tightly as reports poured in. He felt powerless for the first time in his life. Humanity's forces were scattered and unprepared, while the Council's fleet loomed like an unstoppable storm. "General Hale," Jake said, turning to the older man standing nearby. "We can't just sit here and take this. We need to fight back." Hale nodded grimly. "Agreed. But we're outnumbered and outgunned. If we rush in blindly, we'll lose everything. Lily stepped forward, holding a tablet displaying real-time data. We might have a chance if we use the EMP weapons. They won't destroy the ships, but they'll disable their systems long enough for us to strike. Jake looked at her, then at Mia, who stood ready in full combat gear. It's risky, but it's all we've got. Within hours, Earth's hastily assembled fleet launched into space. Dozens of ships, ranging from small fighters to modified cargo vessels, formed a ragtag armada. Jake led the charge aboard the flagship, a heavily armored cruiser named Defiant. Behind him flew pilots like Mia, whose skills would be crucial in the coming battle. As they approached the Council's blockade, the enemy ships opened fire. Bright streaks of energy lit up the void, forcing Jake's fleet to scatter. The humans were vastly outnumbered, but they fought with desperation. Pilots dodged incoming fire, launching missiles and firing lasers in retaliation. For every hit they landed, 3 more alien ships seemed to appear. Mia proved herself a natural leader in the chaos. Her fighter darted between enemy vessels, drawing their fire and creating openings for others to exploit. "Stay close," she shouted over the comms. "We're not done yet." Then came the moment of truth. Lily's EMP weapons fired, sending pulses of energy rippling through space. One by one, the Council's ships faltered. Their shields flickered and their engines sputtered. A massive dreadnought, the largest in the fleet, went dark entirely, drifting helplessly. Jake seized the opportunity. "All units, converge on that ship. Take it down before they recover." The human fleet swarmed the disabled dreadnought, unleashing everything they had. Explosions rocked its hull as missiles found their mark. Finally, with a deafening roar, the massive ship broke apart, scattering debris across the battlefield. Though the victory was small, it sent a powerful message. Humanity could fight back. Back on Earth, news of the triumph spread quickly, reigniting hope among the survivors. People cheered in the streets, celebrating the bravery of their defenders. But Jake knew better than to celebrate too soon. The Council still held the advantage, and this skirmish was only the beginning. As he gazed out at the wreckage floating silently in space, he whispered to himself, "One down, many more to go." After the battle, Jake and his team returned to Earth to regroup. The victory against the Council's dreadnought had given humanity a much-needed boost, but everyone knew it wasn't enough. The Council still had overwhelming numbers and technology far beyond anything Earth could produce. To win this war, they needed more than courage. They needed answers. Lily spent hours analyzing data from the captured alien ship. Deep inside her lab, surrounded by glowing screens and scattered blueprints, she worked tirelessly. One night, while examining the ship's mainframe, she stumbled upon something strange. A hidden message buried in the code. It was encrypted, but after hours of effort, she managed to decode it. What she found shocked her. The Council wasn't just trying to stop humanity's expansion. They were planning to drain Earth's core energy. According to the files, Earth's molten core contained a rare form of energy that the Council craved. They intended to harvest it using massive machines, leaving the planet barren and lifeless. This wasn't about control. It was about exploitation. Lily immediately called Jake and Mia into the lab. "Listen to this," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. She explained what she'd discovered, showing them diagrams and schematics. "If we don't stop them, they'll destroy Earth completely." Jake clenched his fists. "We can't let that happen." "But how do we fight an enemy like this? We're barely holding on as it is." Mia leaned forward, her sharp eyes scanning the information. "Maybe we don't have to fight alone. What if we reach out to other species who've been hurt by the Council? If we show them the truth, they might join us." Jake nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it could work. Where do we start?" Lily pulled up a map of the galaxy, highlighting several regions. "There are factions out there. The Aquarians, the Vortex clans, even some rogue colonies. They've all suffered under the Council's rule. If anyone would want revenge, it's them. The next day, Jake and Mia boarded a cloaked reconnaissance ship to seek out potential allies. Their first destination was the oceanic homeworld of the Aquarians, a race of aquatic beings known for their advanced shielding technology. Navigating through deep trenches and underwater cities, they finally reached Zeronix, the rebel leader who had visited Earth weeks earlier. Zeronix listened carefully as Jake explained the situation. Her large, luminous eyes reflected both anger and sadness. "The Council has taken everything from us," she said. "Our oceans, our freedom, our dignity. But you offer a chance to reclaim what we've lost." Jake nodded. "Together, we can take them down. But we need your help." Zeronix hesitated, then extended a webbed hand. "You have my word. The Aquarians will stand with you." With the Aquarians on their side, Jake and Mia traveled to other corners of the galaxy, seeking more allies. Each meeting was tense, but the evidence Lily had uncovered proved too damning to ignore. Slowly, a coalition began to form, species united not by friendship, but by shared suffering and a desire for justice. Back on Earth, Lily worked with Ethan and the engineering teams to integrate the new technologies provided by their allies. Shields, weapons, and propulsion systems were upgraded, giving Earth's fleet a fighting chance. For the first time since the Council's ultimatum, there was a glimmer of hope. As Jake prepared for the next phase of the war, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had always been resilient, but now it was something more. They weren't just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for every oppressed being in the galaxy. "We're not alone anymore," Jake said to Mia one evening, "and that makes all the difference." With the Aquarians and other rebel factions now on their side, humanity's chances of survival grew significantly. Jake and Mia returned to Earth with renewed determination, bringing news of the growing coalition. The alliance wasn't perfect. Some species were wary of working with humans, but they all shared a common goal: to overthrow the Council and end their tyranny. Zeronix and her Aquarian warriors wasted no time in contributing to the cause. Their advanced shielding technology was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Ethan and his team worked around the clock to integrate it into Earth's ships. "This is incredible," Ethan said, running his fingers over a shimmering blue panel. "If we can get this working right, our fleet will be nearly invincible." Meanwhile, Lily focused on combining alien tech with human ingenuity. She knew that raw power alone wouldn't win the war. They needed strategy. Using data from the captured Council ship, she identified key vulnerabilities in their forces. Their command structure relies heavily on central hubs, she explained during a briefing. "If we can disrupt those, their entire operation could collapse." Jake nodded. "That means hitting Vega Prime, their main headquarters. It won't be easy, but it's our best shot." The plan was risky, requiring stealth and precision. Jake proposed sending a small strike team to infiltrate Vega Prime, while the rest of the coalition launched a diversionary attack elsewhere. Zeronix agreed to lead the larger assault, using her naval forces to draw the Council's attention. "We'll make sure they're too busy to notice you slipping through," she promised. Preparations moved quickly. Ships were retrofitted with the new shielding technology, and pilots trained for high-stakes missions. Mia played a crucial role, leading simulations to ensure everyone was ready for the chaos ahead. "This isn't just about skill," she told her squadron. "It's about staying alive long enough to finish the job." As the day of the mission approached, tensions ran high. Jake gathered his team in a secure briefing room. Alongside him were Lily, Mia, Ethan, and a group of trusted soldiers. Each member had a specific role. Lily would handle hacking and intelligence, Ethan would maintain their equipment, and Maya would provide cover during critical moments. "We're going into enemy territory," Jake reminded them. "No mistakes. No second chances. If we succeed, we change the galaxy forever. If we fail..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. The night before the mission, Jake found himself staring at the stars from a quiet rooftop. Despite the gravity of what lay ahead, he felt a strange sense of peace. Humanity had faced countless challenges throughout history, yet it always found a way to endure. This time would be no different. Lily joined him after a while, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world," she said with a faint smile. "Feels that way," Jake admitted. "But I know we're doing the right thing. For Earth, for the galaxy, for everyone who's been crushed under the Council's boot." Lily handed him a cup. "Then let's make sure we don't screw it up." The next morning, the strike team boarded a cloaked vessel designed by Zeronix's engineers. It was sleek and silent, built to avoid detection. As they departed Earth's orbit, Jake glanced back at the planet one last time. Below, cities glowed faintly against the curve of the horizon. They were fighting for every light, every life. Hours later, the ship entered Vega Prime's airspace undetected. The Council's homeworld loomed ahead, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and glowing energy grids. Jake took a deep breath. "All right, team. Let's show them why they should have never messed with Earth." The infiltration had begun. The infiltration of Vega Prime was a delicate operation, requiring absolute precision. Jake's team moved silently through the shadowy corridors of the Council's fortress-like headquarters, their cloaked vessel having landed undetected in a remote maintenance bay. The air inside the structure was cold and sterile, filled with faint humming sounds from the alien machinery that powered the entire complex. Lily led the way, her tablet glowing softly as she navigated the labyrinthine halls using a stolen map from the Council's archives. "We need to reach the central hub," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "That's where they control everything. Their fleets, their weapons, their operations." Mia followed closely behind, her hand resting on the hilt of her plasma pistol. She scanned every corner, her sharp eyes alert for any sign of movement. Ethan brought up the rear, carrying a heavy pack filled with tools and gadgets designed to disable security systems. Despite his nervous energy, he remained focused, knowing how much depended on their success. As they approached a heavily guarded checkpoint, Jake signaled for the group to stop. 2 towering Council enforcers stood watch, their armored suits gleaming under dim lights. "We can't fight them directly," Jake murmured. "We'll have to find another way around." Lily nodded and tapped a few commands into her tablet. Moments later, an alarm blared in a distant section of the building. The guards turned abruptly and marched off to investigate, leaving the path clear. "Distraction protocol," Lily said with a faint smile. "Courtesy of our new friends." The team pressed on, reaching a massive door marked with glowing runes. Ethan knelt down and opened his pack, pulling out a small device. "This should do it," he said, attaching the gadget to the lock. Sparks flew as the mechanism shorted out, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, they found the central hub, a cavernous chamber filled with towering consoles and holographic displays. Streams of data floated in the air, showing real-time updates from across the galaxy. At the center of the room stood a massive crystal-like structure pulsing with energy. It was the heart of the Council's network. "This is it," Lily said, her voice tinged with awe. "If we can upload the virus here, it'll disable their entire system." But before they could act, alarms blared again, this time closer. Dozens of Council soldiers poured into the room surrounding them. Calvor himself appeared moments later, his green scales shimmering with fury. "You thought you could sneak into our stronghold," he growled, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You're more foolish than I imagined." Jake stepped forward, raising his hand slowly. "Maybe we are fools," he said calmly, "but at least we're fighting for something worth believing in." Calvor sneered. "Belief won't save you now." Before anyone could react, Maya fired a stun blast, scattering the soldiers. Chaos erupted as the team sprang into action. Jake tackled Calvor, engaging him in hand-to-hand combat, while Lily raced toward the crystal core. Ethan set up defenses, deploying automated turrets to hold off the enemy forces. "Hurry," Jake shouted, dodging a swipe from Cal Vor's claws. Lily worked frantically, connecting her tablet to the core. Lines of code scrolled rapidly across the screen. "Almost there," she yelled. Outside, Xeranix and her Aquarian fleet launched their diversionary attack. Explosions lit up the skies above Vega Prime as rebel ships clashed with the Council's armada. The battle raged fiercely, drawing attention away from the strike team below. Finally, Lily hit the final command. "It's done," she cried. The crystal core flickered, then went dark. Across the galaxy, Council ships and weapons systems shut down simultaneously. Cheers erupted from Earth's forces as they seized the advantage. Jake delivered one last punch, knocking Cal Vor unconscious. Breathing heavily, he turned to his team. "Let's go home." As the Council's systems collapsed, chaos spread across Vega Prime. The once mighty fortress fell into disarray, its towering spires flickering as power drained from every corner. Jake and his team moved quickly, knowing they had only moments before reinforcements arrived. Cal Vor lay unconscious on the floor, a symbol of the Council's crumbling authority. "We need to get out of here," Maya said, her voice urgent. She kept glancing over her shoulder, expecting more guards to appear at any moment. Lily nodded, clutching her tablet tightly. "The virus is spreading. Every ship, every weapon, they're all shutting down. But we can't stay to see the fireworks." Ethan was already heading toward the exit, his pack slung over one shoulder. "Let's not wait around for an invitation," he muttered, his usual humor replaced by nerves. Jake took one last look at the darkened central hub. The pulsing crystal core that had once been the heart of the Council's empire now sat inert, its glow extinguished. He felt a surge of satisfaction, but knew the fight wasn't over yet. "Stick together," he ordered. "We're not done until we're back on Earth." The journey back to their cloaked vessel was tense. Alarms blared throughout the complex, and shadowy figures darted through the corridors. Jake led the way, his instincts guiding them through the maze of halls. At one point, they encountered a group of Council soldiers, but Mia's quick reflexes saved them. She fired a burst of EMP rounds, disabling their weapons and buying enough time to slip past unnoticed. When they finally reached the maintenance bay, relief washed over them. Their ship waited silently, untouched. Ethan rushed ahead to prep the engines while Lily double-checked the cloaking device. "It's holding steady," she reported, "but we'll need to move fast." As the engines roared to life, Jake glanced out the viewport. Outside, the skies above Vega Prime burned with explosions. Xeranix's fleet had pushed deep into the Council's defenses, creating the perfect diversion. Rebel ships clashed with disabled Council vessels, turning the tide of the battle in humanity's favor. Once they were safely away from Vega Prime, Jake gathered his team in the cramped cabin. "Good work," he said, his tone heavy with pride. "We hit them where it hurt. Now it's up to the Coalition to finish the job." Lily pulled up a live feed from Earth's command center. General Hale appeared on the screen, his face grim but determined. "The virus worked," he confirmed. "Their fleets are paralyzed. We've launched a full-scale counterattack. How's your team?" "Alive and intact," Jake replied. "But this isn't over yet. The Council won't give up without a fight." Hale nodded. "Understood. Get back here safely. We'll need you for the final push." Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. Cities lit up with fireworks, and crowds gathered in the streets, chanting slogans of hope and defiance. For the first time since the Council's ultimatum, humanity dared to believe they could win. But amidst the joy, Jake remained focused. He knew the Council's leaders wouldn't surrender easily. They would regroup, rebuild, and come back stronger if given the chance. Humanity had struck a devastating blow, but the war wasn't over. As their ship hurtled through space, Lily leaned back in her seat, exhaustion etched on her face. "Do you think we did enough?" she asked quietly. Jake looked at her, then at the others. Enough to give us a fighting chance. That's all we can ask for." Mia grinned, cracking her knuckles. "And when they come back, we'll be ready." For now, though, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet triumph. The galaxy had seen what humanity was capable of, and the Council's grip on power had been shaken. It was a start, a spark that could ignite something much bigger. "We showed them who we are," Jake said softly. "Now let's make sure they never forget it." The Council wasn't finished yet. Despite the crippling effects of Lily's virus, their leaders rallied what remained of their forces for one final desperate assault. Across the galaxy, disabled ships were repaired, and new fleets were mobilized. The message was clear. They would not surrender their empire without a fight to the death. Back on Earth, Jake and his team prepared for the inevitable counterattack. News of the Council's resurgence spread quickly, dampening the earlier celebrations. People returned to their shelters, bracing for what might come next. General Hale called an emergency meeting at the command center, where maps and holograms displayed the Council's growing armada. "They're throwing everything they've got at us," Hale said grimly. "This is it, their last stand." Jake stood beside him, studying the projections. "Then we make sure it's their final one." Lily had been working non-stop since their return from Vega Prime, refining the EMP weapons and developing new tactics. She stepped forward, pointing to a cluster of red markers on the map. "Their main fleet is converging here, near Saturn. If we can hit them there, we might be able to break their momentum." Mia nodded, her expression fierce. "We've got the Coalition behind us now. With Zuranix's navy and the other rebel forces, we outnumber them." "But numbers alone won't win this," Ethan added, adjusting his glasses. "We need to stay smart, use every advantage we've got." The battle plan came together quickly. Humanity's fleet, bolstered by allies from across the galaxy, would engage the Council's forces head-on. Meanwhile, Jake led a smaller strike team to target the Council's flagship, a massive vessel commanded by Cal Vor himself. If they could take him out, the Council's morale would crumble. As the day of the confrontation approached, tension filled the air. Soldiers checked their gear, engineers fine-tuned the ships, and pilots ran simulations until they could fly blindfolded. Jake spent hours briefing his team, ensuring everyone knew their role. "No heroics," he emphasized. "Stick to the plan, and we'll get through this." The battle began with a deafening roar as hundreds of ships clashed in the shadow of Saturn's rings. Explosions lit up the void, and energy beams streaked across space like deadly fireworks. Maya led her squadron with unmatched skill, weaving between enemy vessels and taking down targets with precision. "Stay close," she shouted over the comms. "Don't let them split us up." Meanwhile, Jake's strike team fought their way toward the Council's flagship. Resistance was heavy, but the combined strength of the Coalition pushed them forward. Ethan worked tirelessly to keep their ship's systems running, patching damage and rerouting power as needed. "Hold on," he yelled as another blast rocked the hull. Finally, they reached the flagship. Boarding pods latched onto its surface, and Jake's team moved inside. The corridors were eerily silent, the crew likely focused on the battle outside. They made their way to the command center, where Cal Vor waited. "You again?" Cal Vor snarled when Jake entered, his green scales glowing with rage. "You think you can stop destiny?" Jake didn't respond. Instead, he charged forward, engaging the reptilian leader in brutal hand-to-hand combat. The fight was intense, both opponents evenly matched, but Jake's determination gave him the edge. With a final surge of strength, he knocked Cal Vor to the ground. "It's over," Jake said, standing over him. Cal Vor sneered but said nothing. Defeat was written all over his face. Outside, the tide of the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. The Council's remaining ships retreated, their forces shattered. Cheers erupted across the Coalition fleet as the realization sank in. They had won. Jake stared out at the wreckage floating silently in space, a mix of relief and sorrow washing over him. The cost had been high, but they had proven something important. Humanity would always fight for its place among the stars. With the Council's forces in retreat and Calvor defeated, the galaxy entered a new era. The once mighty empire that had ruled through fear and oppression was now fractured, its leaders either captured or in hiding. News of the victory spread quickly, sparking celebrations not just on Earth, but among oppressed species across the stars. For the first time in centuries, hope replaced despair. Back on Earth, President Laura Bennett addressed the world from a global summit held in New York City. Crowds gathered outside the building, waving flags and chanting slogans of unity. Inside, representatives from dozens of alien races joined human leaders to discuss the future. Today, Bennett began, her voice steady and strong. We stand together as equals. The Council tried to divide us, to crush our spirit, but they failed. Humanity has proven that courage and cooperation can overcome even the greatest odds. Jake and Lily sat in the front row, listening intently. Both looked exhausted but proud, their faces reflecting the weight of what they had accomplished. When Bennett called them to the stage, the audience erupted into applause. Jake stepped up to the microphone, his hands trembling slightly. This wasn't just about saving Earth, he said, his voice filled with emotion. It was about proving that no one should live under tyranny. We fought for freedom, for everyone. Lily followed, holding back tears as she spoke. We didn't do this alone. Every person who worked in the labs, every soldier who risked their life, every ally who stood with us, they made this possible. And now, it's up to all of us to build something better. The summit marked the beginning of a new galactic council, one built on equality and cooperation rather than domination. Species that had once been enemies came together to draft laws ensuring peace and justice. Zara Nix and her Aquarians played a key role, advocating for the rights of subjugated races. We've suffered enough, she said during one session. Let's make sure no one else does. As the days turned into weeks, Earth began to heal. Cities damaged by the Council's attacks were rebuilt, and memorials were erected to honor those who had fallen. Maya returned to her squadron, training new pilots for the growing coalition fleet. Ethan continued working in the lab, helping integrate alien technology into everyday life. Slowly but surely, humanity adapted to its place among the stars. Jake and Lily found themselves spending more time together, reflecting on everything they had been through. One evening, they climbed to the roof of a research facility, gazing up at the night sky. Stars twinkled brightly, each one a reminder of how far they had come. You think we'll ever see another war like this? Lily asked quietly. Jake shook his head. I don't know, but if we do, I think we'll be ready. We've shown the galaxy what we're capable of. Lily smiled faintly, and maybe next time, we won't have to fight at all. Far away, beyond the reaches of explored space, remnants of the old council plotted their revenge. But for now, the galaxy was at peace. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through resilience and unity. As the camera panned out, showing Earth glowing softly against the vastness of space, a single thought echoed in the minds of billions. Never underestimate the power of hope.